Hello everyone, welcome to this ArtCAM Express demonstration. In this demonstration we're going to be celebrating the start of the European Football Championships. So what I'm going to be doing is creating quite a basic sign using ArtCAM Express, and here you can see the sign that we're going to be creating. So what I'm going to do is just switch over to ArtCAM, and if you take a look on the right hand side you can see we have no modules installed within ArtCAM Express, so everything that you're going to see is done with the basic ArtCAM Express. And the first thing that I'm going to do is to open up an image, and I'm going to choose this English flag with the football on there, and I'm going to open that. I'm just going to choose the default sizes because what I want to do for this is to just create some vectors for it. So if I click OK, here you can see it's imported the picture into ArtCAM Express, and if you take a look down the bottom you can see lots of different colours that are in this picture, lots of greys, blacks, whites and also red shades. What I'm going to do is to click here for the bitmap to vector, as what I want to do is basically just trace all of these vectors. Now in order to do this I need to reduce the colours because ArtCAM needs to know what colour that it's actually tracing. So if I start to bring this down, you can see I can bring this right the way down with the slider bar. You can see how all of the colours have washed into one colour. Now let's say for instance I didn't really want to do that and I just wanted to do specific parts of this. I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's bring that back up to, let's say, 4 colours. So I'm going to do the ball and I'm going to create the vectors for the English flag separately. So if I click OK, and then if I zoom in on this, you can see I've got this grey colour here, and it's just overlapping on the black and also here on the red. Now what I can do with this is link a colour to another, so it turns that colour into, let's say for instance, the grey, or it turns what I'm going to do now, all of the grey into the white colour. So I'm going to left click on the white, you can see that that turns into the primary colour. I'm going to right click on the grey, and then I'm just going to click this button on the top right of both of these, and what this will do, it will link both of the colours together. Now you can see it's turned all of the grey parts into white. So what I can do now is to select the black colour, and I'm going to create vectors around the black colour. So if I turn that off, you can see I've created my vectors around the black. And if I wanted to do the red, select the red and create the vectors. So there you can see I've got all my vectors created. So I can close the bitmap to vector now, and what I'm going to do is to just select all of the vectors and go to export, and I'm going to call this vectors. I'm going to export this as an EPS file. I could export also as a DXF for instance, and I'm just going to save that. Right, so now I've got my vectors sorted. I don't need this model anymore, so what I'm going to do is create a completely new model. So I'm going to go to File, New, and then Model, and I'm going to give this a thickness of 25mm, and OK that. I'm not going to save the changes. Just going to delete my material to start with, and here you can see I've got a blank sheet. Now if I open up the Relief clipart library, now within ArtCAM Express you cannot create any 3D models. That's only available in Insignia upwards, but you can import reliefs that have been created elsewhere, and we also have a relief clipart library that allows you to bring reliefs into ArtCAM Express and you can machine them. Now, within the clipart library we have over 500 pieces of clipart, everything ranging from animals to crests to greenery, so we have lots and lots of different reliefs within there for you to use. And what I'm going to do is come down to the Euro 2012 folder that I have, and I'm going to select the Signbase 158. So I'll just select that, and that will give me my shield. I'm going to just centre that, and I'm going to make it a little bit larger just to fit on the sheet. Now I can change the size of that here. For instance, if I wanted to change the Z scale, I could change that there, but I'm just going to show you how you can change it afterwards if you forget to do that. So what I'm going to do is just paste that down. I can close the clipart library now and close this dialog box. If I click here, this will preview the relief within the 2D view. So if I click there, you can see it's showing me the relief. Go to the 3D view, and then that will show me the relief in the 3D. Now, as you can see, this is quite small. It's not as high as I intended. I wanted this to be about 25mm or an inch high. So what I'm going to do is click Scale Relief. Now you can use this to scale up the volume or the height. What I'm going to do is just change the height there to 25 and apply that. So there you can see that that's brought the height up to 25mm. So I can close that now. And what I'm going to do is just import the vectors that I created earlier. And it's going to go to Vectors and Import. Select the vectors and then open. And you can see it's brought in those vectors, so I'll centre those, and I'm going to make these a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go to the Transform tool, and over the right hand side here you can see I have a scale factor. So I'm going to scale this by 75% and then close the dialog box. Now I'm just going to move this upwards. If I press Alt on the keyboard, it gives me an orthographic move. So I'll move that up to around about there, and I think that looks fine as it is. I'm just going to edit now these two parts of the English flag, the horizontal lines, and what I need to do is to just ungroup this. So I'm just going to right click and ungroup all, and then you can see that that's ungrouped that. If I select here for node editing, what this will allow me to do is to manipulate the vector. So I'm going to select all of these vertical nodes here and press Alt on the keyboard again, and I'm just going to move those out like so. Do the same thing with the left one. Move that out to around about the same place, so that you can see just edited those two horizontal rectangles quite quickly. And then what I'm going to do is create some text. I'm going to do this down here underneath the ball. So if I click text, which is here, and I'm going to change the font. Now all of these fonts within ArtCAM are actually the fonts that are installed on your system. So what I'm going to show you now is how to get around fonts that have been created by, let's say for instance, a graphic designer who wasn't really too concerned about the accuracy of the fonts. So what I'm going to do is select Berlin Sans here, change the size of that to around about 35, and I'll go to type in sports bar and click done. Just going to centre that and then move that down into place. Let's say around about there, And the first thing that you notice when I deselect this is that the T is in red and it's got a little white circle there. Now that's giving me a warning saying that there is a loop or an intersection within that particular character. So if I zoom in on it, you can see it's telling me where it is. If I just zoom in quite close, you can see I've got this loop here and I've got a loop there. Now this was done when the font was actually created, so whoever made this font didn't obviously care too much about the accuracy of it, and you get this quite a lot on fonts that you be getting off the internet and installing. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways to get around this. So firstly, if I just zoom out, you can see that this is all grouped together. So what I need to do is right click and ungroup all. Now the reason that I've done that instead of using the group ungroup up here on the icon is that this is grouped several times. So if I click ungroup all, it will just mean that I just need to do it once rather than having to go up here quite a few times. So if I just zoom in, I'm just going to quickly edit this. I'm going to do it this particular way. I'm going to node edit it. What I'm going to do is just hover close to the point where the loop is, and I'm going to click I for insert on the keyboard, and there also, and then those two nodes that I've just created, I'm going to hover over those and press C. And what this will do, it will actually cut the part out, so then you can see that that's a separate part now. So I'm just going to delete that, and then you can see we have a gap in the letter T. So we're just going to sort that out by closing this with a curve. So there you can see that that's given us the exact same effect, except this time the T is closed, and you can see it's no longer in red. So that's sorted that T out for us. Now I'm going to show you a different way to sort it out, which is probably a lot faster, and I'm going to select the create text, again Berlin Sands, and this time I'm going to do this 20, and I'm going to type in Euro 2012. Again, I'll centre that and then just move it down below the sports bar like so. Now if I zoom in on this, you can see I've got 3 characters. I've got the E and I've also got 2 twos. Now just going to explain quickly about the font editor, which is a module. What you can actually do with this is load this particular font into the font editor or font creator, and what you can do with this is edit this within there. So you could, let's say for instance, sort out the 2 within the font creator. If this is a font that you are using quite often, you could sort that out within the font creator and then save that font, so then that would override the font that you've already got, and every time then that you created a 2 it would be okay. Otherwise you would have to keep on doing this every time that you used a dodgy font. So it will be a lot easier if you did have the font creator, if you were working with lots of fonts like these where you were having to sort them out all the time. So what I'm going to do is just right click and I'm going to ungroup all of these vectors. Here you can see in red the vectors that I'm having problems with. What I'm going to do is just select all of those. So I've got the 3 vectors selected, and I'll just try and zoom in so you can see. So I've got the 3 selected, and what I'm going to do is use the vector doctor. So this will automatically sort out problems within vectors. So it will automatically sort out vector intersections or loops for us. So if I click identify, you can see it's showing me the places where it has a loop. So if I just zoom in on the E here, you can just vaguely see that there's a loop there and it's having problems with that. So if I just click fix problems and then close the vector doctor, and I'm not going to keep the current markers, and then I unselect that, you can see that that's sorted all of the problems out that we had with those fonts. So these are ready to be machined now. So what I'm going to do now is create some more text. This time though, I'm just going to use an Arial text, and just going to type in All Games Live, and just select all of that, and I'm going to change the size of it like so. Click done. Now this can be anywhere, so I can just move that there if I wish to. And what I'm going to do is create a circle. Move that to around there. Let's say radius of 150, and I'll just center that. Now what I'm going to do is create some text around the curve. So if I select the All Games Live and then select the circle, if I keep my mouse button pressed down over the T here to create text, you can see we have a flyout menu, and we have those anywhere that there's a small triangle on the bottom right hand side, and you can see we have wrapped text around a curve. So if I select that, what I can do is wrap this text around this circle. Now as you can see that's on the wrong side, so if I click text on the other side, you can see it moves it to the other side for me. I can change the spacing if I wish to. Zoom in, you can see I can change single words, so for instance I could just move words around like so, or I could change single letters. You can see that the spacing is not quite right here, so I'm just going to move single characters around just so it looks right. Just move that V a little like so, and that looks okay, so I'll click done, and then I can delete the circle that I created. So finally, the only other thing that I need to do is to just node edit this here, and I'm just going to do exactly the same thing as I've done before, and just move that down to around about there. So there we have a sign created. If I go to the 3D view and I click here, that will show the vectors within the 3D view. Right, so if I click up here for toolpaths, this will give me all of the toolpaths on the bottom right hand side, and what I'm going to do is just do a machine relief toolpath. Just move that over to the right so you can see better, and I'm going to do this over the whole relief. If I wish to, I could do it within a selected vector, so it would do it within a boundary. Finishing options, I'm going to use a 6mm ball nose cutter. Roughing options, I'm going to use a 12mm end mill. Now I'm going to use the default values for this, but if you did want to change any of the sizes, let's say for instance the step over for the cuts, you can change that there. Also the step down, let's say for the roughing, so it's going to step down 12mm every cut, you can change that within there. So all of these you can actually change. I can add a lead in move if I wish to. I'm going to define the material, and I'm just going to add just a little bit onto the material just so it doesn't cut through the base within the preview. So OK that, and click calculate. So this is going to work out the toolpaths for me. So this is calculating the roughing toolpath with the 12mm end mill. And there you can see the toolpaths in red, and then this is calculating the finishing toolpath. So there you can see all of the toolpaths. Now let's say for instance I just wanted to just check within this area here that there was some roughing going on in there. I'll just open this up. If I turn off the light bulb here, it will not show the toolpaths. If I just turn on the roughing, it will just show me the roughing toolpath. So there I can see it's just getting in there, and that looks fine. If I wanted to turn on the finishing, I do that by turning on that light bulb. So I'm going to turn those off because they're going to be a hindrance for me in selecting the rest of the pieces. So what I'm going to do now is to just select all of the football, and I'm going to select the All Games Live text. I'm going to do an area clearance for this, so basically a pocket, and it's going to be selected vectors. The finished depth, I'll do this around 2.5mm deep. Now I've got to use the smallest cutter that I have for this just to get in all of the areas, so 1.5mm, and I'll calculate that. Again, turn off the toolpath so I can see, and then I'm just going to select the sports bar text and the Euro 2012, and for this I'm going to do some V-bit carving. Choose a carving tool, let's say 32mm. Now if I wish to see the depth that this was going to cut at, just click refresh here, and it's telling me it's going to cut at 2.315. Click calculate now. So I can turn those off. If I wanted to see what was actually going to be sent to the machine, I'll just right click and simulate all toolpaths, or I can click here to simulate all toolpaths. So there you can see the machine relief. This is doing the finishing for that, and then it will do the area clearance for the football, and then finally the V-bit carving. So there you can see that that's machined piece. Now if I wish to change the colour of this, of the simulation, just click on simulation and I can change the material. So let's say, I don't know, beach vertical. Probably don't look too great, can't really see the detail. Let's try medium oak vertical. So you can see it gives us quite a nice finish. Now if I wish to send this to a customer for approval, for instance, before I actually cut the thing, what I could do is to click window up here and save 3D view image. So I'm just going to save this onto my desktop, and I'm going to call it Euros 2012, and then just save that. I could password protect it if I wish to. And the great thing about this is that you can send this to your customer and they don't need to have ArtCAM. All that they need to have is Adobe Acrobat, which I would say 99% of computers do, and they will be able to rotate the model around, zoom in and out, just so they can take a look at this. So that's done. So if I minimise ArtCAM and close the previous PDF, double click on the PDF on the desktop, and here you can see the PDF of what we've just machined. So they can take a look at this, zoom in and out, take a look, rotate it around. So quite a useful little tool. So I'm just going to go back to ArtCAM now, and then finally just show you how to actually post the toolpaths for your machine. So if I click on toolpaths and then select here to save toolpaths, here you can see on the left hand side all of the toolpaths that I've just created. So we've got the machine relief, the finishing and the roughing, we've got the area clearance, and we've got the V-bit carving. Now let's say for instance if I had a tool changer, I could just move all of these tool paths to the right hand side, then choose my post for my machine and then save the G-code. If I didn't have a tool changer, just had a single headed machine, what I could do is just move the one over to the right hand side. So here you can see I've moved the roughing tool path, which would be the one that you would start with. Select this drop down menu here and you can see we have well over 200 posts available within ArtCAM. Now these are available within ArtCAM Express, so we've got lots and lots of different posts within there. So your machine will probably have a post there. If it doesn't, then we have the generic G-code post here, which may get your machine working. So let's say for instance I just wanted to save as a generic G-code arcs, and what I could do is just save that onto the desktop, give it a name, let's say 100, and then close the dialog box. Go to the desktop. Here you can see my G-code ready to be sent to my machine. So I hope that you found that demonstration useful using ArtCAM Express, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.